was great, wasn't it? I'll just let Dan turn the lights on so you can see Dan's beautiful face while he speaks. So our last panellist, last but definitely not least, is Dan Glass. He's an absolutely amazing LGBTQIA+ activist. And he is also from No Pride in War and is part of the Beautiful Trouble group, who also trains activists in taking creative action, and we'll be doing a workshop here in Birmingham. Please do attend that and tell your friends as well.
This is Sunday.
Yes, it's this Sunday.
12 till 5, yeah.
At this place.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Home sweet home. Well, thank you so much, sir, and Hadir as well. That was so beautiful and eloquent and informative. And I'm now just going to be talking about throwing piles of shit at fascists. So I'm just going to be lowering the tone a bit. That was. I hope we're going to get that published somehow. That was brilliant. Can I actually start with a question, which will inform my suggestions for what we could do? What's the latest with Birmingham Pride having potential? Have we asked for a meeting with them?
Yeah, we asked a month ago and no response.
Okay, no response there. Okay, that's good to know. And could we just explain about the video with Andrew Lumsden?
Yes. Oh, okay. Do you want to go ahead?
So if you look on HSP, they did it last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, have you got the video up? Is that the video?
Well, Andrew's new one.
No, that's not up yet.
Yeah, I mean we can get it up. Yeah.
No, it's not up. It's not up. The new one, the old.
The old one, yeah. Essentially, it's just a classic example of pinkwashing by HSBC. And when I first saw it, I was raging, because it's my dear friend Andrew Lumsden, who's an amazing queer activist, one of the founders of the modern pride movement in Britain, the Gay Liberation Front, who isn't really conscious about pinkwashing or Palestine. Very conscious about a lot of things, but not that. And he was used and co-opted by HSBC for their video saying, "We love queers, blah, blah, blah." When I saw that, I was like, no. And so, what is really amazing, and of course he's one of the founders of the Gay Liberation Front, which provides a lot of legitimacy for HSBC. And so what we've done, we had a meeting the other week, which was just surreal, because it was with Andrew Lumsden from the Gay Liberation Front, who started the Modern Pride movement, Lady Phil, who started UK Black Pride, and then Huda and me, and it was a meeting of minds. And now Andrew, thanks to Huda, has recorded an alternative video against HSBC and pinkwashing, which will really ruffle the feathers of HSBC when it's released. So, when is it going to be released?
Hopefully the next week or two.
Oh, that is damn exciting. So, these are all good milestones, because we've got 2.5 months till Birmingham Pride. So, just I'll give a bit of my background, and tell me, you've got 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even think I'm number 86 on the self-hating Jewish list anymore. I think I've gone down. I've got more work to do. I've got a lot of work to do. I got voted first on the self-hating Jewish list 2005 when I was in Palestine. I know. I mean, I'm not even on it anymore. I'm insignificant. Because I wrote a poem. At the time, I was one of the sabbaticals at Sussex University, went on a Palestine delegation. I wrote a poem about my reflections in Palestine, and what my grandma, all of my grandparents were Nazi Holocaust survivors. I was closest to my Polish one, because she lived nearest me. She fled the Warsaw Ghetto with false Christian papers, ended up being a nanny in a high-ranking Nazi household, undercover in Warsaw, and they obviously didn't know she was Jewish, and then fled that way. Anyway, so I wrote a poem about my experience in Palestine, what my nan would have thought, and what my Zionist sister on the other side of the wall was doing as well. So it's all very personal as well, and for me, I do everything. My grandparents would never, ever, ever have wanted the occupation of Palestine, and the apartheid being done in their name. So that informs me a lot. I'm not going to go into family background. I'm going to talk about some creative actions which I've been lucky enough to be involved in, mainly in London. It's good to get out of London, so to see how we can share them and and replicate and conjure up more creative actions to change pinkwashing. So, No Pride in War started in 2016. 2016. In 2015, we did another action at Pride in London, which influenced the birth of No Pride in War. We found out that the UKIP LGBT, so the LGBT wing of UK Independence Party, were going to be on Pride. We're going to be marching on Pride, and we were like, what? Just, I mean, you know, what role do fascists have in our liberation? And it's a sign of how bad things have become, how divorced from the roots, the radical roots of Pride, when fascists are allowed to march. I don't care if they're queer or straight, and fascists have got no role in absolute liberation for all, which was the original aim of Gay Liberation Front. We founded Pride. It wasn't queer liberation, it was absolute freedom for all. And of course, this year is very poignant because it's the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which led to the creation of the Gay Liberation Front, which started Pride. So the actual chronology: 1969 Stonewall riots, which gave birth to the Gay Liberation Front in America. Two queer activists from London saw what was going on, went to the Revolutionary Convention somewhere in America, which was led really by the Black Power, the Black Panther movement, and was very much made up of the queer liberation, the women's liberation, the black liberation movement in America. They then came back to the UK and started the UK Gay Liberation Front, and met every month at the London School of Economics in what was called Think-ins. Think-ins, a term for like consciousness-raising groups. And then 2 years, and that started in 1970, and 2 years later, 1972, started the first Pride March, Pride protest. In 2004, many years later, Pride in London Corporation, by this point, changed it officially from protest to a parade, so clearly depoliticising it, because apparently there's nothing to protest about anymore. Everything's in hand. Let's get the banks in, let's get the military-industrial complex in, etc. What we've been doing in the last couple of years to celebrate and commemorate and agitate for more is we brought back together the founders of the Gay Liberation Front, who are still alive, in a new series of Think-ins. And the Gay Liberation Front UK have reformed. We've actually got a party to celebrate them, a 50th birthday party to celebrate them next Wednesday evening. Everyone's welcome. In London, we can do it here for the Birmingham Gay Liberation Front. We restarted the end of last year with a specific intention to reclaim Pride this year, to reclaim its radical roots, and to recreate a new list of demands. The 1970 GLF demands were amazing, and a majority of them haven't been achieved. So we're re-platforming them and updating them, including challenging the pinkwashing, militarisation, corporatisation of Pride. So, just working back to a few examples of actions. When we found out that UKIP were on Pride, just a ragtag group of people decided enough's enough, and it's the death of Pride Corporation. And we made a coffin, got black funeral outfits, got funeral coffin flower writing, and got on the phone writing, RIP Pride, and invaded the front of Pride before the TERFs did last year, and took the attention away from UKIP. We also chased them off at the end, which was really satisfying. So that was the first thing to repoliticise Pride in the last couple of years. Of course, there's loads of other things going on to repoliticise Pride. That was in 2015. Then later that year, we were still wanting to challenge the fascists who were co-opting the queer struggle, in this context UKIP. And do people remember Nigel Farage's pub being invaded? in March 2015. So they were, UKIP were being bigots to every oppressed group. So we decided to do something about it. Nigel Farage was very famous for being like, I'm a man of Britain, I'm a man of the people, come and have a chat with me in my pub. So we're like, all right, then we'll come to your pub. And bring all of our diversity and then see what we've got to say about that. So we created a cabaret in the spirit of the Weimar era, in Nazi, pre and during Nazi Germany, on the 70th anniversary of the official end of the Nazi Holocaust of 2015, with lots of different oppressed groups who would have been oppressed then and still are now, and did a parody on what all of the things that UKIP was saying to create a wider cabaret. So, for example, the UKIP weather scandal was when UKIP said, when gay marriage was introduced, it was raining, and they said it's a sign from God. So lots of different queer groups came together and did a dance to It's Raining Men at the front of Nigel Farage's pub. When Nigel Farage said the reason, he blamed being late for a meeting in Wales on traffic, because there was traffic on the M4, and blamed it on migrants. So we had different migrant rights groups in fake little cars blockading the front of the pub. When he was on a train from Manchester to London, he famously said, because he heard lots of international and foreign languages, he said, this is not what Britain should be like. So on different pub tables, we had Arabic classes, Chinese classes, Polish classes. They said that breastfeeding mothers should face the wall, so we had mums with their boobs out at the front of the bar. We had a Holocaust survivor who opened the cabaret. We had a Palestinian dabka dance, all in one cabaret in his pub. And then we actually found him in the pub across the road and finished the cabaret with singing We Are Family as we snaked around the pub. But then the story continues. We're currently in a legal situation, taking Nigel Farage and his wife to court for perjury because they lied, saying that we scared his children when we know there were no children there, because you got the CCTV footage. Anyway, UKIP are very good at spinning the media. So that was one action, and so there's the invading the front of Pride with a coffin. They're doing a satirical cabaret in the oppressor's pub or house or wherever we like. Another action was, this was one of my favourites. It was really easy, but got a lot of attention. When UKIP, again, we focus on UKIP, they said, frankly, the last kind of migrants we should allow into the UK are those living with HIV. So I'm also part of an HIV activist group. So we took half a ton of horse manure and went to UKIP's South London office and dumped it. Different HIV migrant groups said, what goes around comes around, stop spreading filth, solidarity on World AIDS Day with a giant World AIDS Day red ribbon on top of the shit. And UKIP ended up getting kicked out of their office, which was more than we could have ever asked for. Just the wonders of, and I'm sure you've got loads of city farms around here who will be willing to donate loads of shit to dump on HSBC's office. Super easy, and it's just just don't, that poor taxi driver. No, just don't take the half a ton of shit in bags in the back of a taxi driver. The taxi's just not fair. Sorry, wherever you are. So that's the shit dump, which is an idea. The Dabka dance we did in Barclays Bank to challenge their militarisation of Pride, and to challenge their complicity in Israeli apartheid. Simply getting a mobile sound system, and actually one of the tricks is putting it into a pram, ideally a twin buggy, and cover it with what looks like just a blanket, so you can't tell, you think it's a baby in there, and just go into the Barclays Bank. We went in Oxford Street, so one of the main ones, and then when with lots of people, I did a Palestinian Dabka dance, probably not saying it right, sorry, to bring a different perspective of Palestinian life, but also as a tool for action to challenge the oppressors. Again, like we did different methods in HBC this year, and we also did Dabka Dance / occupation in the British Museum to challenge what you were signposting to, the long legacy of British colonialism, imperialism, apartheid. But then, lastly, just the last example is where RIP, where No Pride in War came from. So that was we started that in 2016 because we found out not just, you know, the police the Gay Liberation Front who started Pride fought tooth and nail against being beaten up at best or killed at worst by the police, and they weaseled their way onto Pride, to the military, but to actually have arms companies like BAE Systems on Pride, it's like, what the hell? So that's when we started No Pride in War, which was, again, just a grassroots collection of intersectional groups, like Adil was talking about, queer groups, anti-war groups, anti-fascist groups, Palestinian groups, feminist groups, anyone who's at the sharp end of fascism and the military-industrial complex. War veterans, Gay Liberation Front activists, younger queer activists. The first action that we did, which might be an idea for HSBC's headquarters in Birmingham, is a vigil to all the people that have been killed because of the military-industrial complex in the front of their offices or in their reception. So we did a vigil, but that was in the entrance to City Hall, where Boris Johnson at the time, what an arsehole, was the Mayor of London, and so who has the remit and the powers really to influence the Pride in London Corporation Committee. So we had the vigil, and then we didn't quite manage to chase BAE Systems off Pride. Clearly, I mean, mainly because we can't defy gravity, because they had the red arrows over Pride. If we could, we would have launched a skyrocket into them. And actually, one of the actions last year, which might also sow seeds of potential for what we can do, people remember the Trump baby blimp, the giant inflatable of Trump. So that's something I was lucky to be involved in last year, so that could be an idea we can make more inflatables.
Netanyahu.
Huh?
Netanyahu with a baby.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Oh, that'd be brilliant. So inflatables are another option. And now we're restarting No Pride in War to challenge BAE Systems, who are the main sponsor of Surrey Pride. Obviously HSBC here. And it's just really great to be able to connect the dots between the patterns that the pinkwashing strategy maintains all over Britain. So with the founders of Pride, I think there's a lot that we can do, and they're very much up for speaking in an occupation of HSBC Birmingham, or helping with a meeting with HSBC Birmingham, Pride Birmingham. I mean, my main suggestion, I would say, just ultimately, is writing a very stern letter to HSBC, to Birmingham Pride, saying we are going to, by any means necessary, get rid of HSBC off Birmingham Pride this year. We are extending an olive branch. You say we're willing to have you come to a meeting with the founders of Pride, because Andrew and the others, Ted is an amazing, he started the Black Gay Liberation Front in Britain. They'd be up for coming to me, but they'll flap about, they'll...
I think it was one for the first, but that could be a second one.
Yeah, sending me a letter signed by the founders of Pride saying, we're extending you this, we're giving you 3 days to respond, but then simultaneously plan an occupation of Birmingham Pride's office, where whether it's a vigil, whether it's a 50th birthday party to the Gay Liberation Front, in their offices. Depends the tone of voice that we want to go to. Obviously, vigil is a different emotionality than a birthday party. But yeah, we could stage them. Yeah, and basically really join, because I know Glasgow radical queer activists are also thinking the same thing about challenging the pinkwashing narrative. Lastly, just to sow the seed, this summer, hopefully if we can, maybe a bit later, the project that I'm working on is working title, I'm a Gay Fascist, Get Me Out of Here, which is based on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Does everyone know the programme? Basically celebrities on an island, on a sunny island, who are put to loads of tests, like eating cockroaches or other things which celebrities don't like to do, and see how long they last. Because of the rise, obviously pinkwashing, as we've talked about, is part of a wider strategy of fascism. And there's actually a much, really worrying growing number of queer, far-right groups forming. Obviously you've got UKIP, you've got EDL, you've got BNP, you've got the rest of them. But all over the world, particularly in the Western world, you've got far-right gay fascist groups who are openly fascist and queer. And so I want to take them to Auschwitz to learn about what happened to us and therefore not to carry on what they're doing. People seen the film Priscilla, Queen of the Desert? Yeah? I want to get bus like that and take far-right gay fascists on there across Europe to do an anti-war, anti-fascist educational tour and ending up at Auschwitz. And everyone's like, Dan, how are you going to get, where are you going to get these gay fascists from? I'm actually in contact with a lot of them because they sent us death threats since we invaded Nigel Farage's pub. I've still got them, a lot of the very, very repressed queer fascists on social media. So let's see where that takes us. So if anyone knows of any gay fascists out there and want to come to a bus to Auschwitz this summer, then put them in touch. So I hope that was just a few ideas, of some campaign ideas and what we can do hopefully together.
Thank you.